So did you know that emotional eating is not really about the food? It's the way your body holds on to stress, to unprocessed emotions, and to trauma. So if diets and willpower haven't worked for you, we have to go deeper to the body. So hi and welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. So today I wanted to talk about how we can use the body to help us heal our emotional eating. So most emotional eating I've found through my own journey, through working with clients and really looking at this pattern, comes from these unprocessed, unresolved emotions that we hold in our body. And in order to cope with them, we go to food to soothe, to numb out, to distract ourselves from the discomfort we're feeling. So earlier in my journey, I was trying all the things that you probably have tried to resolve your emotional eating, like the diets, the exercise, using willpower. I was even in talk therapy, and nothing seemed to help me resolve my emotional eating. And that's where I had to take things into my own hands. I ended up moving to Korea, changing careers, and just having to roll up my sleeves and really get to the root of my emotional eating, because nothing I was doing was helping me, and my emotional eating was actually triggered even more by moving. So as I started to resolve my emotional eating, a big part of it was getting to the root of the pattern. And what I found was that root lived in the body. So through my own trial and error, reading different books, trying out meditations, just almost intuitively putting this together, I realized that I could find the root of my emotional eating in my body. And when I really sat with it and moved through it at that deeper level, I was able to shift this pattern. So it wasn't just that I was out of control and thinking I was out of control. When I really stopped and followed where those thoughts were coming from, they were coming from my body. And they had this deeper root. They had these sensations. They had this story to them. And they were asking me for something different. They weren't actually asking for food. If I went deeper than that, they were asking me to meet a need. And that need might have been just listening and being there with those sensations, listening to the emotion, and almost letting it move through my body. And from there, I realized that I wasn't really wanting the food. Sometimes I would genuinely get hungry after, but my body would want something different, like chia pudding or kale. And it was really interesting to watch. It wasn't asking for the initial urge of, I need to eat this, and like flashing at me. It was something completely different, or I wasn't really hungry at all. So what is somatic work? And I'm going to define it in the way that I use it for my clients. Everyone is going to use somatic work in a different way. It's part of the process I use to work with clients, and I use it to ultimately get to the root of the triggers that are coming up for clients around their emotional eating. This is a process, and part of the process is finding your triggers, is noticing when they're happening, and then using those triggers to find where those looping thoughts are coming from in your body. Where are you holding on to that tension in your body? Because your body holds on to these unprocessed emotions, these unprocessed events from your life that are actually creating your emotional eating. So if we go all the way back to childhood, as children, we have needs to be seen and heard and validated, and we have needs to be seen, heard, and validated. And especially if we have emotions, we need our parents or caregivers there to really, acknowledge our emotions, be with us through the sensations of them, because our emotions are sensations in our body, and to hold a really regulated nervous system. So our parents would need to be very regulated, because their nervous system, we co-regulate, and that would help our body release these emotions and get back to a state of calm. And we would have felt seen and understood and heard. And we probably would have gotten a message from that emotion. Let's say we were really sad, something happened at school. That emotion might have told us, maybe that's not a great friend, or we could sort of work through what's going on. We always need to move through the emotion before we take an action, because we need our emotional brain to sort of regulate, to turn on our prefrontal cortex. And so when we don't have this, those emotions have to go somewhere, and they go into our body. They're stored in our body. We can feel them as tension, as tightness, as sort of this clenching. So maybe you notice right before a meeting, your stomach gets tight. It starts feeling really like constricted and anxious. Even that word anxious, it's like the sensation of the stomach is really tight and clenched and uncomfortable. And then the emotion that's emanating from that sensation is anxiety or a fear. And so if we just hold it in, we're holding that. And if as children we didn't learn how to move through that, we have to cope, because that's an uncomfortable feeling. And so we, if you're an emotional eater, you go to food to deal with those emotions. But they're not really getting rid of the emotion. It's essentially putting a band-aid, because your body's going to release some dopamine. It's going to make you feel a bit more calm or soothed, and you can distract, and then maybe you kind of forget about it. But it doesn't mean the emotion went away. It's still held in your body. And until you know how to actually be with that and move through that, you're going to keep getting triggered back into your emotional eating, because your emotional eating is telling you food is going to solve that discomfort versus what you actually need. So if we can understand that emotional eating is not saying that you're a failure, you can't control food, it's really a signal about something that's going on deeper in your body. It's almost like an alarm bell that, oh, hey, I might have some emotions in my body, but right now my brain is just noticing the discomfort and telling me really quickly, go to food. And so if you are not able to see that pattern, you're not able to be with your body to start noticing those sensations, or even, as I'm telling you now at a high level, that there is something being signaled in your body, and you just automatically listen to those thoughts and you go to food, and then after you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? I wasn't really hungry. That means that you missed the alarm. You did the same action you're always doing, and now we need to relearn a new way. And so it's not a failure if you emotionally eat and then after you realize it. So when I had moved to Korea and I was trying to really unpack my emotional eating because it was really debilitating, I felt so disgusted with myself, I would actually work backwards. So I would go back to my triggers and see what was happening. Even though I had already emotionally eaten, I could go back and tap into what was really going on for me. Where's that coming from in my body? And start sitting with it. And that helped me to retroactively heal my pattern. And it's something I do with clients. So they can emotionally eat and we can use that to see what's really going on under the surface. We can look at all of your triggers and your patterns and start seeing what's really going on under the surface. And so eventually what happens is that when that emotional eating alarm comes on and you've noticed your pattern and you start seeing it, and this happened for me, you'll be like, I notice that impulsivity to go to food. I feel that urgency, that urge popping up. I just ate or all of a sudden I feel like not calm. It's not like, oh, I kind of feel like eating something. It's like almost impulsive. Something's happening. My emotional eating is happening. And eventually where clients can get to is to pause, to go into a meditation, or maybe they've already sort of memorized the process. They can sit with that, get to the root of it, see what's really going on, and meet their deeper needs. If it's processing and moving through an emotion, if it is moving through an emotion and taking an aligned action step, that is what they're doing. They're listening to what that alarm is really saying. The old way, when you're younger, all you could do was go to food, but now you can give yourself what you needed. You can be that parent that you didn't have. You can start creating that new way of being. So you can start meeting those deeper needs by being that regulated parent to that part of you that is not regulated, that is screaming out for food, and repattern how you are with your emotions. And I've seen this for myself. It's been over 10 years since I've emotionally eaten. When you meet that need at this deep level in the body, it is so hard to then go to food. Food becomes like this very weak band-aid. It cannot fill that. There is so much more chemical processing that's happening when you are able to give that attention to yourself. Food with the dopamine rush cannot cover that. And I've just seen it time and time again. Even if I have an off day and I want to go to food and I wish I don't have to do this, there's no way food could ever take away and meet that need. My body just knows what it actually needs, and I'll have to do the processing. So essentially, when we're doing this and we're getting into the body and we're noticing our triggers, we're noticing that urgency, that agitation in our body, it is about grounding yourself, being resourceful, knowing there's a part of you that's really calm and there's a part of you that is more agitated, that's screaming out for this. And it's able to really ground yourself and feel confident enough that you can be with this emotion, be with these sensations, that nothing is wrong with you. You don't need to run away from it. You don't need to eat. You don't need to take a walk. You don't need to call someone. You become that really capable parent that you needed. And it starts off by noticing your triggers and then noticing sensations in your body, getting better and better. This is not a body scan and we're just scanning our body. This is about really being with those different layers of sensations in the body and holding that space for it. And this is something you can learn. You're totally capable of doing that. I had to learn this and my clients learn this as well. And so usually internally, we're going to know what that sensation needs. It's not that we need to dance or run around or do any kind of big movement. It's almost like intuitively from your body, it's going to just say, I need you to be with me. I just need to feel through, if it's anxiety, it's almost like an agitation. It's like a pulsing, being with that. And you notice the pulsing slows and calms. And it's really cool because our body is speaking to us. And as a former chemist, it's almost like there is this dance of chemical reactions in our body that's happening. And we get to see it go from like being erratic and up and down to really a calm state. And it's a really amazing thing. And so as we're doing that more and more, that's what regulates the body. Sometimes I see out there with somatic work, it's like we're dancing, we're shaking, we're putting onto ourselves the action we need to take. Whereas what I like to do with clients is to go into the sensation and see what it needs. And that is how you're going to connect to yourself and meet your deeper needs versus imposing from the outside. So if you would like to dive deeper and you want to start this journey of resolving your emotional eating, I would love to suggest that you download my free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For? In the guide, it's going to help you start pinpointing your triggers and start seeing your pattern. And it's going to give you a few key observations about what hunger actually feels like in the body, so you can start discerning true from emotional hunger. And if you'd like to dive in deeper, you want that support, you want to actually embody the change. So if you want to move through your emotional eating, you want to embody ease and peace and confidence around food and in your body, then I'd love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. This is my 12-week container, and inside of it, you have a step-by-step process. You have office hours, you have one-to-one sessions with me doing this deeper somatic work, and you have recorded meditations to start learning the process on your own. And, it's really to get you to the other side in a sustainable way so that you have all the tools and support to really resolve this pattern at the root. So if you'd like to find out more about that, the link is below. I just want to say if you have any questions, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.